Well, that music can only mean one thing. It's Monday at the Unified CXM Experience. I always look forward to these. This is one of my favorites. Hey, Neha, how you doing? Glad to see
Good,
you
how are
here
you?
today. Kind of feel like this is the beginning of Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood every week. Don't you think so? Always so
Yeah.
calm. Did you ever watch that clip I sent you?
Yes, I did. I did.
You
I did.
did?
I
Okay,
watched
okay.
quite a few of those episodes,
Quite a
and
few. Okay.
yeah, and
It's
I
not
was
bad,
like,
right? So,
it's
Grad Con, CXO at Sprinkler, Chief Experience Officer, Neha, the Breath Yogi, and here we are today. I'm really looking forward to today's topic. It wasn't what I think we were gonna talk about originally, but I love this idea of talking about being overwhelmed and sort of how people deal with it. So let's get into that in a few minutes. But I guess what we should start with is an I'm feeling overwhelmed breath. So let's do
good.
a I'm
Yeah.
feeling overwhelmed breath exercise.
So why don't sit up, let's sit up nice and tall. Bring your
Okay.
palms on your thighs, open to the ceiling. And we'll take a full deep breath into the belly, into the chest, and hold the breath. Hold the breath for as long as you comfortably can. And then breathe out through the mouth. Relax. So we'll just do that 2 more times. Full breath into the belly, into the chest, till your collarbones lift up. Hold the breath, and if there's any feeling of discomfort, let that feeling increase. And then as you slowly breathe out through the mouth for a little longer, you'll notice that energy dissipating. Hold. Out. One more time, full breath into the belly, into the chest, till your collarbones lift up. Hold the breath. If there's any discomfort in your body, keep your attention there, or in your chest region, keep holding. And slowly breathe out through the mouth. And relax. And when you're ready, you can slowly open the eyes.
Oh, that's nice. I like that.
Yeah, it kind of like just slows your heart rate.
Okay, so today we are going to talk about feeling overwhelmed, attention deficit, all the things that people are sort of struggling with. You've got some interesting observations. You were talking a little bit earlier about how you're seeing people behave and act and some of the things that people are sharing that are challenging for them. So why don't we set it up? Take me through what you're seeing, what you're hearing from people, and then let's talk a little bit about why that might be happening and what people can do to deal with it.
Sure. It's this feeling of low-level panic almost, that I'm falling behind, I'm not being able to do a good job, I want to do better. And it's really endearing because really it's coming from the space of I want to prove myself, I want to do the best I can. And it seems like I'm always just falling behind. There's so much data and there's just so much information that gets thrown at us that it's just hard. And it's not just them. Like if you just do a simple Google search, it's not just them, it's just what is happening in our environment. The digital world has a lot of pros, but one of the cons is there's this constant influx of data and information. And that means the brain has to just sort through more information and make sense of what to pay attention to and what to not pay attention to. And that can take up some of your brain power. So it's kind of really interesting. There are a lot of studies that have come out that show that on an average American worker is only able to work at the maximum for 11 minutes before they're interrupted. And it's only 11 minutes, and then you
11
either
whole
have
minutes. That's actually pretty amazing.
like
I wish I could get 11 uninterrupted minutes. That's my goal.
I don't know about that.
That's my goal.
I don't know.
Stretch goal, 11 minutes.
Kidding.
Right now I'm on 1
No.
minute.
No, I think you're more than that. But it's just that people think multitasking is a great thing and I'm doing more, but it's not. It's serial tasking. It overwhelms the
It's
brain.
horrible.
Yeah, it overwhelms you, it makes you anxious, and it's a huge cost to your cognitive functioning. And it's interesting that the brain sort of responds to it by shutting the executive function further down. So, the primitive brain takes over, and now everything from your respiration to your endocrine system to your musculoskeletal system, everybody's under stress now. So, that low level of feeling stressful, almost like panic, or I'm lagging behind. And I've even spoken to people across the globe. This is not just an America problem. It's people are rolling into their beds with their laptops, waking up with the laptop, and still feeling like I'm being unproductive. I'm not getting the things done.
That's crazy. So
Yeah.
I got a strong point of view on this stuff. I mean,
Okay.
one thing I try to help people understand is that the human brain is a single core processor.
Yes.
It's a very powerful one, but it is a single core processor. I mean, and I don't mean that in like kind of like it's just like one, or trying to draw an analogy. It is actually a single core processor. And so while computers can perform multiple tasks at the same time, the human brain can only do one thing at a time. Now, the challenge is that when you say you're multitasking is a word that comes from computers when we had multi-core processors invented. The human brain cannot multitask. That's actually not a thing that humans can do. All you can do is switch quickly between tasks.
Yeah.
So you're a minute on this, a minute on this, a
Serial
minute on this, a minute on
tasking.
this. You're not
Yeah.
actually multitasking. Multitasking is the idea that somehow you're doing two things at the same time. You're not. You're only doing one thing. And people who say they're multitasking are just some people are better at fast switching than other people, but they're just switching really quickly. And that does create a lot of stress and a lot of tension, but also creates very low quality work because you never focus on anything long enough to really nail it. And so I think that is but I also think it's a bit of an addiction. I think a lot of people like have gotten used to like, I've got to like watch TV and do homework. And it's like you're doing, sometimes you're watching TV and sometimes you're watching homework, but you're not watching TV and doing homework. That's not the way it works.
Yeah.
The brain cannot actually do that. It's like a physical impossibility. It's like saying, we can jump 100 feet in the air. No, we can't. Can't do that. No one can. No one ever will. So that, I think, is one of the misunderstandings. And so people are slowly driving themselves crazy by thinking they can do two things at the same time. I think the other thing that you commented on, which is dead on, is this carrying your work into the bed. Man, oh man, oh man, that is the worst. I mean, they used to say that Johnny Carson was like one of the best. How they put it? That Johnny Carson was one of the best forms of birth control because he ran this thing called The Tonight Show, and people would watch The Tonight Show, and then they wouldn't like have sex before going to bed, and so Johnny Carson responsible for I don't know how many millions of people not being born, but I'd say that computers and phones are now doing that trick, and the people that fall asleep with their phone in their hand and wake up staring at the screen and reading it, and that's really hard on you, and it's hard in your relationships. I do have my phone because sometimes it's my alarm, but I'll like turn the alarm on and off, but I'm not reading the phone in bed. I think that's a very bad habit. So, but people like I think they create more of a sense of being overwhelmed by creating like lack of barriers between parts of their life.
Yeah, no, and the study even showed that 44% at least of those distractions that they get are self-inflicted. And it's like the sense of boundaries have really been blurred. And I think what's required is, I love the way you put it, it's a single core processor. And then I realized, of course, he's from Microsoft. Of course, he has the lingo down, which is really a great way
I'm just
of
telling
putting
the
it.
facts. It just happens to be a single core processor.
No,
Yeah.
it truly
Yeah.
is. And I was thinking about how to put it in an analogy, and that's a brilliant analogy. So I'm going to steal that and give you credit for it anyway.
You can have it.
But the point is that you have to simplify your life. Like, do one thing at a time. And I think it's about
Well, let me
task
stop you there for a
management. Okay.
Hey, so you said two things that could be contradictory. So you have to simplify your life and you have to do one thing at a time. Those are two statements that I agree with one and I'm not sure about the other one. So I'm not sure you do or don't need to simplify your life. It feels like a little bit of a one person's simple life is another person's complicated life. So I'm not sure that's when you say that to people, I think it creates tension. because it's like, how do I simplify my life? I've got to get these kids to school, and I got to go to work, and I have deadlines, and I got things I got to do, and it's actually quite hard for a lot of people to simplify their lives because they're trapped in a bubble. The thing that's, I think, really does change the game is do one thing at a time.
Yeah, no, I mean, when I say simplify,
If you do one thing at a time, your life will seem simpler. But it's the one thing at a time, and do it well, and do it, and then move on to the next thing.
Yeah, no, and when I say simplify, there are things, actually very tangible things you can do. And you're right. Everything in our language is what I deem simple may not be simple for you. Simple for me is not having a television, and somebody might think that that's just not simple. That's extreme, right? So you're right. That is true for any lingo, word, language. But when I say simplify, it's like make it easy for yourself. Use, like if there is every day in the morning you're waking up and you're having to make breakfast for your kids, just on Sunday, decide the menu. Don't wake up in the morning and try to make that decision. And then you're, looking for this food and that food. Like, where is this ingredient list? So there is always scope for simplifying it, okay? Like making it easier for yourself is what I'm trying to say, I guess.
Yeah. Well, I'll share a couple things I've done over the years. So at one point I was doing I had a pretty busy job, and I had a pretty busy home life, and, working on sort of shows and stuff like that. And it was hard to find
shows?
enough like producing musicals and stuff like that. So it was still, we'll talk
we need to talk
sometime.
about that. Yeah.
We can do that one offline. But it was a lot. I was kind of working constantly. And I was like, I really need to find a few extra hours a week. And so I realized I was spending probably 4 to 5 hours a week in various ways consuming sports broadcasts. Watching football games on Sunday, watching football games on Monday night, watching roundups of it, watching hockey. It was a reasonable amount of time. And so I decided to stop watching sports. And I just stopped. That was quite a few years ago now. And every once in a while, maybe a game will be on. I'll kind of catch a bit of it, but I just don't watch sports at all. And I gained a lot of extra time. And actually, in some ways, it made my life a lot simpler. Like, I have these people I'll talk to, and they're like all wound up about their team, and they know all the scores and all of this and all of that. And I'm like, yeah, whatever. I mean, who cares? It just doesn't matter. And I will say that my fiance loves the fact that I don't watch sports. Like, it's a very kind of a unique experience for her, because she's used to being like someone being there, like watching sports, and I got to be busy on Sunday afternoons because the game's on and stuff, and that just never comes out of my mouth. And so that's the kind of thing where if you look at your life and think, and I actually respect the fact that you don't have a TV. I think it's hilarious sometimes, but I think I respect, because it's just kind of idioms that you don't have. But I'll hook you up. Like, over time we'll get you educated. You've been watching Mr. Rogers now, so we're making the problem. We'll get you Sesame Street next, and then we'll kind of move you Electric Company, and then we'll kind of march you through
and
American television history.
One movie to watch a week, so yeah.
one movie to watch a week. We'll give you homework. Well, don't worry, we'll take care of you. But but I actually think it's a smart idea, because you get a lot of extra time when you don't have a TV playing. And one thing I've noticed, and this is not something I do as much, but one thing I've noticed is a lot of people have their TV on in the background just all the time. I was actually at a friend's house this weekend, and they had the TV on the whole time, just running in the background. I was like, well, that's interesting. And I think it's super distracting. And so, but it's just something people do a lot and kind of gotten used to. So I think it's, and again, your brain is switching back and forth between listening to this and listening to this and listening to this and listening to this. So it's hard. So let's talk a little bit about people feeling overwhelmed. So what kind of coaching do you give them? Like, I come on board, I'm like, wow, there's a lot here. And I've got a family, and I've got, my own hobbies, and I've got my health. I mean, I have often said, and this was said to me many years ago, and I actually I've lived it enough times that I truly believe that you can only do 2 things well in life at a time. So you have to kind of pick the 2 things that are really important, because you can only do 2 things. And anytime I've tried to do 3 things, I don't do 3 things. I mess up all 3, or I mess up a couple, or I really destroy one of them. but I've never been able to do more than two things well. So it's like career and personal life, or career and fitness, or fitness and personal life, which is hard to afford because there's no career. But you have to kind of pick which ones you want to sort of hero on.
Yeah. And when I start working with people who are suffering from something like this that they need help with, the first idea is about not trying to manage your time, but your energy. You have to manage your energy. And the second idea is it's about task prioritization over time management. It's not about working 8 hours. It's about getting the work done that really matters. What's on your W-2 HMR? You're not going to get any applause for being very, very responsive on Slack, or for answering every single ping or every single email. That's just distracting you through your day. So be very, very focused on the task at hand. And there's a lot of peak performance research also that shows that peak performance is about identifying the accurate tasks and then prioritizing them so that you use your highest, say if I'm a morning person. So my morning time, especially after I wake up, is when I can really do the creative work. The ideas will just flow. It's kind of quiet in the environment. And if I use that time to start looking at my emails and Slack messages, half the day can go just like that, and then half the day is gone. Then you have meetings. It's already evening now. And you will feel like you've not gotten anything done and it's not that you've not been working, you have been. So I think just like you said, start with, on a daily basis, the evening prior, start with your top 2, max 3 most important things to do tomorrow. So that way it's not brewing in your mind. You get good quality sleep. You wake up in the morning, and depending on what your rhythm is, whether you're a morning person, evening person, do the task that is most important for you first, and then go to the Slack. And I tell a lot of my executives who would start start with responding to emails and all of that. And I'm just tell people that the first 90 minutes I'm doing something. And if there's something really, really urgent, call me. Nobody's ever gotten a call. Nobody's ever gotten a call, maybe once or twice max. So I just, first thing that they can start doing right away is that, one, manage your energy, get proper sleep, eat proper meals, hydrate, do the breath work, because 60% of your energy comes through breath. It's very, very important. If you're not doing that, you're basically trying your brain to, not giving it any food and fuel, and asking it to kind of keep performing better and better and better. And it's going to burn you out eventually. So really manage your energy. Second, manage your tasks. Identify which is the most important task to do and start with that. That's what it's very, very doable. And then the third level is self-automation, which is you want to automate. On an average, people make 35,000 decisions a day. 35,000 decisions a day. That's again coming down to simplification. Have a morning ritual, a work startup ritual, an evening ritual, and then, shutdown ritual. So for me, my work shutdown ritual is I have this planner I work with. I identify tomorrow what I'm going to do and how much of what I got done today. And then I do my meditation and everything. So in the morning I wake up, I do this whole, 4:30 a.m. break that I have. And then I post on Slack and I check in with a few people. And that is my morning ritual. And then morning work startup ritual. And then I go into my morning practice. So I'm not thinking every day, what time do I wake up? What do I start doing? Which tasks? The task is already there. I just have to start it, That can also really help. Automating some of those things so that you're not thinking about the same thing and using that precious energy and trying to make a decision.
Yeah, I went through a stage, maybe stage is not the right word because it lasted 20 years, but for a long, long time, just recently I've stopped doing this. I wore the exact same clothes every day.
Yeah, that reduces.
Yeah, it was, and I partly did it because it just made the day so much easier.
Simpler.
And I actually started my career that way. Yeah, so simple. So I started my career at Procter & Gamble, and at P&G, at the time that I joined, it was a weird time because the company was still operating in many ways like it was in the 60s. So for a brief second, it was like I got a chance to see what it was like to work in the Mad Men era. And then a year later, we moved offices and things started changing and it was all over. But I had this brief glimpse of what it must have been like for my dad when he was working. P&G was pretty traditional. And we had to wear a suit to work. Had to be a blue suit. Had to wear
Oh,
a white
wow.
shirt. Had to have a red tie or a reddish tie. Once I made the mistake of wearing a blue polka dot tie, and I was teased so mercilessly. Even though I'm still in a blue suit, black shoes, black socks, even though I'm dressed, all those things are on me. On this blue
Interesting.
polka dot tie, it was ridiculous. It was merciless. The kind of taunting I got through the course of the morning. And there was a men's store actually in the building. We were at Yonge and St. Clair in Toronto. There was a men's store in the ground floor. And I always wondered why it was there. And then suddenly I realized why I was there. And by lunchtime, it was you couldn't leave your desk. Okay. And at lunchtime is the only time you could leave your desk. You had
Oh my
45
God,
minutes. Oh,
this
it's
sounds
really regimented. You had to be at your desk, sitting down at 8:30, like pencil ready. And then, so I zipped down to this men's store, bought myself a red tie, and that was the end of that polka dot tie. I never wore it again.
Oh, God.
But then you couldn't leave before 5:30. Like 5:30, you couldn't leave before 5:30. And if you did leave at 5:30 or 6 o'clock, as you're leaving, the people at the desks, because we all sat outside the offices of the brand managers, so the people sort of sitting at all these carols would say to you, "Oh, do you have like an appointment or something early or something happened or where are you going?" Or like the amount of peer pressure
Wow.
to work really late was. So I just finally said, "Okay, all you bastards," and so I just started because I was alone. I had nothing. I didn't have anybody in town or anything. So I was living by myself, and so I just said, "Fine, screw it." And I stayed in the office every night till like around midnight. It
Are
was
you
awesome.
serious?
Oh yeah,
Like,
it
were
was
you guys
great.
working till midnight or no?
I worked my butt off, and it was great. I was really good for my career. And then I also did a thing where I watched every single TV commercial that Procter and Gamble had ever produced. It took me almost a year and a half to do it, but I watched every single TV commercial that's been produced since 1949. It was
For all
pretty
regions,
amazing
or?
education. Yeah, it was pretty amazing education. And so everyone was just like freaked out because I sat there. I was programming a computer. I created this. I put the spreadsheets on. It was like it was awesome.
Total
But
nice.
great time, great time. But it was like, but that was like the really regimented environment. Now the nice thing about that, I still look back though at that time, although it was a lot of work and everything. I still look back at that time with a lot of fondness because it's very focused. Right, and I didn't have to every day. I knew exactly what I was wearing, and I knew where I'd be, what time I had to be in, and what time I was eating lunch, and what time I'd be able to leave. And it was like and the regimentation of it actually helped the work kind of go in a way. And I think that the lack of regimentation in people's lives now. I mean, it's great to say working from home, but that lack of regimentation, I think, actually contributes to more of a sense of being overwhelmed because you don't have that sort of rigidity that you used to have that sort of, in some ways you'd say, oh my God, I hate this rigidity. But on the other hand, the rigidity actually added rhythm that made it easier to get things done and focus. You just didn't worry about not being able to do something because you just couldn't do it. And it's just the way it was.
Yeah, and you're saving all that precious energy and instead of like figuring out what to wear, what to cook, what time to go,
Right.
which bus to take. There's so many
Yeah.
decisions and that adds up like 365 days, 10 less decisions a day is a lot of brain power saved, So I really believe in, in that aspect of having a little bit of a routine in life is very important because it helps you set boundaries. It helps you make your decisions about other things, like, okay, no, I'm not going to do this because this is what I do at this time, So, and gives you a feeling of certainty, especially in this time where I think a little of this overwhelm may also be coming because of the uncertainty in the environment that maybe, oh God, what's going to happen if I'm not going to shine as the brightest? If you have this sort of structure in your life that you can create yourself, gives you a little bit of grounding. Come what may, every day you wake up at a certain time, you go to bed at a certain time. So I think
Right.
it's a simple.
The body
but-
actually responds well to like
Yeah.
eating the same thing every day, for example. And so Dr. Oz actually talks about this a lot. He's like, there's nothing wrong with having like a diet that's more sort of restricted because body actually responds well to it. Doesn't mind it at all. We don't
I
do
mean,
that. We always think variety is, but we're actually, you could eat the same thing every single day and your body would be totally fine with it as long as it's, assuming you're,
I do
balanced.
that. Like my menu is fixed. Like breakfast is smoothie or like bananas. Lunch is arugula salad, and evening I have a moong soup. Like this is my Monday to Friday menu, and so I'm not
Sounds like a
like it
blast.
was. It was. You're like, look at him. He's like, that does not
Wow, you sound like a real
sound.
party.
No, it's yummy. Have you ever tried? I hate cooking. Okay, that's one of those things I don't enjoy
I think
cooking.
I kind of guessed
So I
that
was
from
like,
what you just
I
said
was like,
2
I'm
minutes
gonna
ago.
just like make it simple for myself. And I love moong. It's good for the body. It keeps me energized, and it's fuel. But on the weekend,
Right.
I do
Well, so
something
one other thing on one of the P&G thing I'll say, and then we'll let's wrap up with with another breath
with a
here.
breath. Yeah.
But one other thing they had, which was really cool, and it was another artifact of the Mad Men era, is they had a coffee cart. And
A
so
coffee
we'd be
cart.
sitting at our desks, and they were like these old steel case desks with a very low barrier. The barrier was just high enough for an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper. And the coffee cart, and there was a woman who ran the coffee cart, same woman, and she would walk it around the floor, and then you would order stuff off the coffee cart, and it kind of was like always get there at the same time every morning and every afternoon. So it was like twice a day, and then it was great because again, in terms of routine, you'd like look forward to the coffee cart coming around, and then when she would come around, it'd be this like break, and you'd be like get a snack or get something. And it was interesting as I think back to it. I'm thinking, wow, there's a lot of programming that was going on to keep us productive and keep us focused. And it was like, maybe I should go out and get a coffee. No, hold on a second. There's a coffee cart. You don't even need to leave
Yeah.
your desk. You stay there. Stay there. She'll be here in 20 minutes, and then you can get whatever you want. I don't even want you getting up. And when we moved to the new building, they got rid of the coffee cart and they put in serveries, which is kind of what everyone has now. And you go get your own coffee and stuff like that. But yeah, it was never quite the same. And I do think that there was a tremendous amount of thinking that went into creating that environment, the original environment, that made you focus and really sort of bear down on things. And I think there's a lot to be said for that, and
Yeah.
I do miss it. But
Yeah. No. Again,
although the only downside is I put like 20 pounds on because I was like eating out the coffee cart all the
drinking
time.
too many
It was like,
coffees.
well, I was drinking
No.
Coke, and I was like, all these pastries, and I was like, that was ridiculous.
Pastries.
And I wasn't moving, right? I was like stuck in my chair there, so that was potentially one downside, but otherwise that was fine.
No, but look at it, how they simplified it. You knew exactly the window between which it was going to come, right? So you're not deciding when am I going to get that break. And you get
Yeah.
they probably timed it around 120 minutes or 90 minutes or 2 hours.
Oh, someone thought it through, no question.
Yeah. And it's like with your circadian rhythm, like every 90 to 120 minutes, you want to take a break because there's a natural dip in energy. And it's very effective way of sort of increase your energy. So yeah, it sounds like when was this? Like in the 80s or early
Yeah,
90s?
yeah.
80s.
It was a long time ago, but I was very, very lucky to have had that experience because, it was like for this is a downside. This is not a good thing, but just for perspective on the time of, people were allowed to smoke in the office.
Wow.
And this is an office with closed windows, right? It's an office tower. So people were smoking everywhere. And which was not great for me. That was hard for me. And when they moved to the new building, they got rid of smoking, and that was awesome. And then the other thing they had I was the first person to bring a computer in, and I had to do it on a bet. And the way everyone did their writing is that they would write everything longhand, and then it went to a secretarial pool, and they would type it
Wow.
up. Yeah, and then if you had to make revisions, you had to go back to the secretarial pool. It was crazy.
Oh my God.
And then it was bananas. Like, and I'd come from a pretty computerized school environment, so I was like, "What is going on here?" I felt like it was. And there's a movie called "How to Succeed in Business Without Really Trying." It was like literally like the office I was working in. And then I'll send that to you too. That's a good movie for you to watch. And then but they had some other things too that were cool. Like on the top of each brand manager's office, they had the name of the brand manager. Right, and we all went by initials, so you had to learn everyone's initials. Like Tim Penner was THP, and Doug Brownridge was JDB, and I was WGC, and Nick Payne was NWP, and it's like you kind of like you learned everybody's name, by their initials, and that's how you addressed everything. It was all done that way. It's all done with initials. You never used people's names, unless you're writing a full reco. But like in all the kind of top notes were all just initial based. So there's a lot of like sort of kind of cultural things that made it kind of fun. But I feel like in some ways I haven't quite found my coffee cart yet. And it's like I think trying to get that personal coffee cart that comes around that somehow I think that could be an interesting app, right? It's just like a little app that kind of every 90 minutes says, "Hey, you want a coffee?"
Coffee.
Yeah, or something,
Like-
a chocolate bar. See there's my downfall. Yeah, chocolate bar. Oh.
Well, if it's dark
That's why the
chocolate,
men's
it's not
store was
that bad.
downstairs because people kept getting bigger and then keep getting their pants let out.
I was probably very young, but I remember some of the really cute commercials of P&G in India. I don't know if you saw them. Did you see the international commercials?
Oh yeah,
also?
yeah. No. I worked a lot.
Like
with
they
those
had
folks.
this
Yeah, no,
soap. They had this literal soap. I used to love it.
Yeah,
You
what was it
remember?
called?
Like, I don't know. It was the literal lemon soap. Lemon.
Yeah.
It was called Literal in India. I don't know what it was called in the US, but I used to love it. And I lived in boarding school, so we used to take everything we would need for a whole year, right? When we would go to school. So
Right,
in
right.
March, and I remember getting like boxes like of Literal soap, and then it became liquid wash after. But I used to love Literal. I used that soap pretty much all through boarding school, at least till
It's
I
interesting.
was.
Lemon scent was really big for a while, and it's not that big anymore for some reason. I
Yeah,
don't know why, but I
yeah.
love lemon scented soap. Yeah.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
really
Well, anyway.
refreshing.
All right, so
Anyway.
let's close with the breath. You're feeling overwhelmed. You need something to calm you down.
Let's do an
Look for some
energizing
routine.
breath.
Find your coffee cart, like all those different things. Simplify, get rid of stuff. Stop watching sports for crying out loud. Like anyone tells me they're so busy they can't, and I always ask them, "Do you watch football?" Like, yeah. I'm like,
Yeah.
stop doing that. There you go. I just gave you 6 hours. And it's like so. Like there's time in your schedule. Like and remember, everybody has 24 hours. Jeff Bezos only has 24 hours in his day,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
and then everyone has 24
Like you
hours
guys,
from
the ELT has 24
a
hours.
baby
right?
to Jeff
Yeah.
Bezos, all has just 24 hours. And some people use them more effectively than other people. We all get the exact same amount of time. That is the one great equalizer of humanity is we all have the exact same amount of time. So you can't make extra time. So
But that's
how
what
you
it
use it
boils
is what's
down to,
important.
right? Like finding those high leverage tasks and prioritizing them, right?
when you made a
This is
comment,
what-
I forgot to follow up on, but there's this other time management thing, which is a lot of people when they have 10 minutes are tempted to do a bunch of small things. Because it's like, I got 10 minutes, I don't have a lot of time. I'll do these little things, get them out of the way. It's actually, those 10 minutes should be used against the biggest task you have.
Yeah.
Because what happens is people save up their biggest task when they have a huge amount of time, and they rarely do have a huge amount of time. And so that big task gets bigger and bigger and bigger and more overwhelming. So use your tiny bits of time for your biggest task, and then set aside like an hour to clean off a bunch of little things when you need to. But always work on your biggest task all the time.
Yeah. And by biggest,
All
I think
right.
you mean most important, right?
Most important, the big project, the big recommendation, the marketing plan, whatever that is, always set aside time for that. All right, so
Okay.
Neha, breathe
So
us
let's
out.
start. So I think we should do an energizing breath because it's really about energy, right? Because
I love it.
energy is also like unlimited if you can tap into it. So we're going to do how do you feel about the coffee breath? Was it a little too intense?
I'm okay with whatever breath you want.
Okay,
You can't out breath me now. At this point, you throw whatever you got. Is that the best you got? You throw whatever you want at me. I got it.
no, I want to make sure that it's not too complex, and especially because we're doing it over audio and people can't really see. So why don't we do this brain to rejuvenate the brain and send more energy into our brain here. So bring your palms into a closed fist, thumbs at the base of the little finger, four fingers wrapped around your thumb, and we're going to use that ocean breath, which is as you're breathing in and out, there's a slight constriction in the back of your throat. Okay? And if that's too difficult, just use normal breath. So let's bring our palms into a closed fist, facing the ceiling, resting on your thighs, eyes closed. Sit easily and comfortably. Take a normal deep breath in And as you breathe out, relax. And Grad said, it's a single processor here, so focus fully on your breath. On my count, breathe in, 2, 3, 4. Hold the breath in, 2, 3, 4. Breathe out, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Hold the breath out, 2. Breathe in, hold, breathe out, hold, 2. Breathe in, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 2, 3, 4. Breathe out, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Hold, 2. Breathe in, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 2, 3, 4. Breathe out, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Hold, 2. Last 3 rounds. Breathe in, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 2, 3, 4. Breathe out, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Hold, 2. Breathe in, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 2, 3, 4. Breathe out, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Hold, 2. Last one. Breathe in. Breathe in till your collarbones lift up. Hold the breath. And as you breathe out, pull your navel in. Breathe out for a little longer. And hold the breath out. And to relax, keep your eyes closed for a moment. Release your palms. Release your fists. And just bring your awareness inwards. Notice the state of your mind. Notice what's happening in the body. And take a deep breath in. And as you breathe out, relax. And when you're ready, you can open the eyes.
I got a big day ahead of me, and this is going to be perfect setup for it. So thank you very much, Neha. That's great.
Absolutely. Okay.
All right. Well, that was an interesting conversation today. I haven't had a chance to reminisce about P&G for a really long time.
And I think a lot of people are going to really find value in it. And we
Well, we'll see.
should, I had this idea, that we should talk about your past. And I don't know a lot about.
I know.
Like,
You just want to
this is
dig in there.
interesting.
You just know there's all sorts
Yeah,
of delicious
it's like-
stuff in there. No,
it's like,
we're not doing that. It's not going to happen.
No?
No.
Oh, come on. There's this whole
No,
thing
no.
about vulnerability, if I'm saying that correctly. I have a hard time saying that word.
No, I don't think so. No, I'll see.
No?
Okay.
No?
This
Okay.
is fun. No, not right now. We'll see. We're going to take a week's break because I'm going to be on
An
PTO
island.
for a week. I'm going to be on an island off the coast of Maine, so I'm looking forward to that. And then we'll be back in early August with our next, and we'll figure out about. I think I'm going to get a chance to do that survey, and I'm going to do some other stuff, and we'll do some self-reflective stuff in the first couple weeks of August as people think about
Cool.
re-engaging with the year. Because think about August is it's the last month before September, which is usually when things really start to get busy. So kind of getting ready for September, making sure that we're on our tips of our toes. And I think I have my first live public presentation coming up at the end of August.
Nice.
Looks like I'll be going to London for a couple of days in late August, early September. So I'm kind of excited
What's
about
happening?
that. It's a CX presentation, customer experience, run by one of the analyst firms, and we're going to be back on stage. So, Randy, we've been getting ready for our next stage appearance for a while now, and kind of getting some new videos and thinking about what that's going to look like. So I'm looking forward to dusting the rust off and getting back in front of a live audience. It should be fun. Maybe we can make that into sort of a half live presentation, half podcast or something like that. All right. So
Interesting.
Neha, thank you very much. That was a really
Enjoy
fun,
your
That was a really
vacation.
fun conversation today. Thank you, I will. And hopefully you enjoy a break from me for a week. So See, we're both getting benefits. All
Not
right.
really.
For the unified CXM experience, I'm Grad Khan, CXO at Sprinkler with Neha, the Breath Yogi, and we will see you in 2 weeks.